Welcome to From the Clinic to the Courtroom, Health Law Unpacked.
Hey there, and welcome to From the Clinic to the Courtroom, Health Law Unpacked with Maria T. Santi, Esquire, founder and managing partner of the Health and Medicine Law Firm. Maria and the team are focused on providing exceptional legal services with efficiency, accuracy, attention to detail, and a high work ethic. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today's episode is You Have the Right to Appeal. Now what? A step-by-step guide. Maria, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you for having me again.
All right, we're talking appeals. We've talked appeals a little bit in previous episodes, but we're gonna deep dive today. So, what's the first thing that someone needs to do when they receive a denial letter from their insurance company?
So the first thing is going to be to first review the letter and see, okay, why are they denying this? Get a copy of the policy to see if that denial actually matches what the policy says. And then definitely either work with an attorney and with the doctors to get the appeal started. The other thing to look for in that denial letter is the deadline to appeal. So again, these are time-sensitive deadlines that if you don't file the appeal within the time frame, you can potentially lose your right to appeal. So those would be the first basic steps. And then once all the information is gathered, it's preparing the actual appeal, looking at, again, it's always good to work with an attorney. The doctor's offices a lot of times just send things in, so they're prepared for the first level. But as far as responding, it's putting together an educated response with supporting documentation. Again, find out why did they deny this? What does the policy say about this? And then basically it's looking at, okay, what evidence does the patient need to show? Which, I mean, it's crazy that I'm even saying this, thinking about it, because this is health, like a person's health, and they need this treatment. But basically, getting all the records and everything that shows that this patient actually needs the treatment. If I'm working, like, for example, with a patient that has a more sophisticated illness or something that's very advanced, typically I will get letters from multiple doctors, because it's not just one doctor recommending the treatment, it's 2 or 3 doctors recommending the treatment. And this often happens when somebody has a complex medical condition, or it happens with cancer patients that are terminally ill, that are very delicate and need very specific types of treatment. So once that appeal is prepared, then it's, it has to be put together in an organized fashion, getting, again, the citing to the policy, and if there's applicable law, obviously that counteracts whatever they're saying, that should be put in there. All the information from the doctor that says, why is this treatment necessary? All the medical records get put together. So basically it's putting together the package for that appeal to be sent in, and then executing and mailing it in, always trackable, or faxing it, and then setting also if they have a deadline as well. So it's important to see by what date does the insurance company have to respond to this appeal. If it's expedited, it's usually 72 hours.
Oh, wow. That's fast.
Yeah. If it's something that it's like a pre-service appeal that someone's trying to get authorization for a procedure, that typically, if it's not urgent, it's going to be 30 days. If it's something, look, you've already had the treatment and you're just trying to get payment for what they denied, it's typically 60 days. But again, the insurance policy is going to dictate the exact timelines that apply. Then everything has to be very well documented. So from the time that, like, any calls that are had with the insurance company regarding this appeal, that has to be documented. Any letters that get sent, what day was it sent? What date was a response received? What date did anything go out? Like every single little thing needs to be documented. And then whatever, like anytime that the doctor has a communication with the health insurance company, that needs to be documented as well. So it's a lot of documenting, but those are the initial steps. And then depending on what response is provided, it would then be, okay, well, do I have to do now a second appeal? Mm-hmm. Which is kind of like the same process. And if they make an argument saying, well, it's still not covered, well, now you have a chance to say, well, no, here's more documentation showing it is covered.
Okay. So for anyone listening, don't delay. That's very important. There is a timeline on this. Document everything, and ideally probably hire counsel so you have an advocate in your corner. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yes, and a lot of document gathering.
Document gathering. Okay. So a few different terms here. What's the difference between an internal appeal, an external review, and filing a lawsuit?
Okay, so the internal appeal is what the health insurance company is going to look at from within. And this is the one that I mentioned earlier that there's different levels. So they have a first level appeal. So their appeals department within the company. So let's say it's Florida Blue. Their department is going to look at it and say, okay, look, we're either going to approve this or not. And then the people that work for Florida Blue will make a decision on it. If there's a second level appeal, now again, the people inside Florida Blue will be the ones looking at this appeal again. And basically, if I think it's safe to say that if it's for their own company, they're going to try to do what's best for the company. And they're going to, be more on the side of denying, because that's going to be better for the company, at least financially, from what all the studies and publications have said about these things. So those are all internal. And then because of these issues with potential conflicts is where this external review process was born. And what that external review process is that if the patient decides to do an external review, they request the external review, and now Florida Blue has to select an outside agency that is going to look at everything that was submitted during the appeals process. And they're going to say, we agree with Florida Blue or we do not agree. And then basically Florida Blue is bound by whatever decision the external reviewer decided. So if they say it has to be overturned, Florida Blue has to overturn it. If they say that it continues to be denied, then they stick by that decision. But here really that the idea is that there's a third party that is not associated with Florida Blue, right, that is going to look at this, and it's going to be neutral on making a decision for the patient.
Makes sense. So that ideally that's a second set of eyes, if you will, that's not biased at all.
Yes, ideally.
Ideally. That's very, very key there. And then at what point do you file the lawsuit?
So let's say a patient, so they decide, okay, well, they've done the appeals, the doctor has done a peer-to-peer, an external review has been done, and everything gets denied. Then at that point, the patient can decide, okay, well, I'm going to file a lawsuit against the insurance company because I don't agree with their decision. My doctor doesn't agree with the decision, and I'm going to file this lawsuit and get this overturned. So it's basically like the last resort after having gone through this entire process. And it's really a decision that the patient and the family would make is, okay, do I want to take legal action against whatever company it is? There's a difference in how that legal action happens, which we're not talking about that today, but at some point I'll elaborate. It's basically, if you have the marketplace, it's a state lawsuit. If you have an employer plan, it's going to be subject to a federal law known as ERISA. So then the patient just needs to decide if they want to proceed. And then it's just a matter of hiring the attorney to help you, getting the documents drafted, and then filing them with the court to move forward.
And does it actually sometimes go to a jury trial?
Sometimes, yes. Yeah, most of these would be jury trials, not in federal court. In federal court for the employer plans, it's just a bench trial. The law doesn't allow for a jury trial.
Okay.
But if the case doesn't settle, then yes, definitely it would be a jury trial.
So probably a lot of it comes down to cost. I mean, is it worth it to go through the cost of going through a trial versus, for whatever your procedure was cost you, right?
Right. Yes. So that's one of the considerations. But there are some instances that the health insurance company would have to pay for the attorney's fees and costs of the patient if the patient wins. There's some instances where they have to pay, like when the patient wins, they have to pay. Okay. There's other instances where it's the person that wins that pays fees and costs. So sometimes it is worth it because they would still be able to get what they need, and then the insurance company would have to pay their fees and costs if the person has to sue.
So when it comes down to that, I imagine you just would probably give your clients whatever advice you think as far as their chances of winning, and then it's up to them to make the decision whether they want to move forward or not?
Yes, exactly. Because every case is different. Every policy is different. So we really need to look at the facts and the basis for denial, what the coverage is, what the laws are, to decide, is it worth it or not? Because, if there's a good chance, then we would proceed and move forward with litigation. But if we see that there's some reason where there's definitely not coverage or it wouldn't be worth it, then we wouldn't as attorneys recommend that. So it really depends on every specific case.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. And if any of these appeal deadlines are missed, is there any sort of legal, anything you can do legally at that point? Or are you kind of out of luck?
I mean, there's a lot of different laws and case law that applies in those situations, and it's going to be specific to every case. Like, if the person just said, I'm not going to do an appeal, and they never did it, then potentially in the federal cases with the employer plans, they could lose their rights. But if there's a good reason on why an appeal was not done, that doesn't necessarily mean they're lost forever and they can't do anything. There's some policies also that the ways that they read, an appeal is not really mandatory. So the situation with the employer plans, if you have anything that is an employer plan, it's mandatory to do appeals. So if you don't do the appeals and then you sue, that's going to get kicked out of court because you didn't do your appeal.
Good.
Yeah. If you miss the deadline to appeal, then you have to give a good reason why, and then try to get that overturned. But generally, it would all depend on how the policy is written.
Mm-hmm. I don't check my mail very often is probably not the best excuse for missing it, huh?
No, it's not.
Good to know. Good to know. In your experience, what are, other than missing deadlines, what are some of the common mistakes that you see patients make during the appeal process, and how can how can they avoid them?
So definitely avoiding mistakes is, I think, working with an attorney throughout the process. But one of the most common mistakes that I see is that a patient will write a letter and that's it. Like, they'll just say, oh, I don't agree with your denial because of these reasons, so please approve it. And it's just like a very basic letter, and that's not going to be helpful at all. And some mistakes that I have seen when patients do their own appeals is that they actually admit things that they shouldn't have admitted just because they didn't know that it made a difference.
So basically they admit stuff that weakens their case?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right. Like they may say, oh, I feel this, or I did this because of this reason, and something that is not necessarily something that had to be said, or something that doesn't help. If you're trying to get life-saving treatment, like some patients I've seen, like they blame themselves for certain things. And I'm just here thinking like, well, this isn't your fault. This is a health issue. Mm-hmm. But the insurance company, if they have that in writing from somebody, it's like, okay, well, look, they admitted to this. So
yeah.
Those are big mistakes that I see. Like they really need to be well written and documented, and they need to have supporting documentation.
Yeah, documentation for sure. For anybody who might be, I don't know, overwhelmed by this, it sounds really overwhelming. It sounds like it can be overwhelming, I guess I should say, dealing with the appeals process, dealing with these insurance companies who are not necessarily in your corner much or all of the time. How do you help them to get the power back? How do you get them to feel empowered, and what advice do you give?
So I would say the first thing that I do is, like, when I'm helping somebody, I ask a lot of questions, and my office will work on breaking it down step by step, to help the person feel empowered, because it's one big mess basically, and all of this is getting thrown at you. So it's kind of like just making sense of the mess, putting everything in compartments where it needs to be. Mm-hmm. And then when they start to realize, oh yes, I have this, or I have this information, or I can answer this question. And like they start to realize, wait, I do have a case. Like, it's not this big, huge insurance company stepping all over them now. It's like, okay, if I just follow the steps, if I just take my time to show every detail that is needed, it starts to work together, where they really feel like, okay, well, I can fight this now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thanks for that. And thank you for tuning in to From the Clinic to the Courtroom, Health Law Unpacked with Maria T. Santi, Esquire. To connect with Maria and her team, head to healthandmedicinelawfirm.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave us a review. Maria, it's always great chatting with you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.